Welcome, everyone, to Together We Serve, all about service and a servant's heart. I'm excited to have my guest on the show today. I've known her months, since might be in a year now, but we've really connected because of that one phrase that you saw in the title, your network's your net worth. And we're going to build on that because you're going to learn so much how when you do that, the growth of your business and yourself is going to be massive. We've both seen it as we do it, and we're going to show you ways that you can do that and empower yourself, especially my guest who empowers women. And I love that. She does these great retreats and really is about the servant heart and giving that gift to everybody. So welcome, everybody. I want to welcome Colleen Biggs to our show. Almost forgot your name, Colleen.
Hey,
there she is, our cheerleader.
I'm your biggest cheerleader today.
I love it. So we're going to have to go with our...
I'm a huge champion of women too. And I think it's so important that we champion each other, especially as entrepreneurs, don't you?
Oh, I do. And man, we're not disconnecting you from this. I'm not disconnected from it. Yeah. But what's really cool is this can work with men or women. Yeah. You just find women is something good that you like to work with, or people you like to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was in corporate America, I really didn't have those types of relationships with women. In fact, growing up, I didn't really have those relationships. I'm very atypical in personality. I'm very driven, goal oriented, and that causes others sometimes to feel a little intimidated by that. And I felt that men weren't intimidated by it. It was very welcomed because I was in male dominated spaces. Women were very intimidated by that. And I didn't know how to tone it down or change my energy or who I was. And I have found that since I've left corporate America many years ago and have become an entrepreneur and a champion of women and work with women, that I see how amazing each one of them are, and realize I don't have to compete with other women. I can be a champion. I can collaborate. And that's why I do conferences and retreats, and I bring women together to show them we can empower and elevate each other, and we can all still thrive and be abundant.
There's a lot of definitions of empowerment. Empower, whatever word or version of the word you want to use. What's your definition?
Empower to me is about motivation and inspiration and knowledge, and empowering someone is about giving them the knowledge and the know-how, and also that kind of motivation and inspiration that goes along with it. So for me, when you feel empowered, you know that you can make decisions. You feel like I have what I need to make a decision to do what it is that I need to do. I just hosted a City of Tucson clerk's office for all their leaders, and we talked about servant leadership. I taught the whole, workshop on servant leadership, and the thing we talked about, Steve, was empowering others so that they feel confident to do their work.
Yeah.
And it's way less for the leaders to have to do at that point. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
You're so much like me, and we always laugh when we get together. We need to get together more often, someday in person too. But people ask me, what's your podcast, Doing Business with a Servant's Heart? What's your goal? You said it, motivation, inspiration, knowledge, you said, but I say education.
Yes.
And that's a tip for anybody out there that has a show. If you hit 3 of those, you got a golden show. Mm-hmm. People are going to be, you're going to take care of people.
Yeah, well, look at your show. It's insane. Yeah. You've got so many listeners and viewers, and it just goes to show that is still a popular thing. I'm just going to say, right?
No, it is. It's only growing too.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch TV shows now. This guy has a podcast. This guy, and it's not, people go, well, there's so many podcasts out there. So they're not Colleen's. They're not Steve's.
Right.
It's the new network, I say. TV shows and podcasts, these streaming services. Mm-hmm. So I know you work with a lot of women, and it's been a challenge for women in business for 10 years. I think it's 5% of the top speakers are women, which is crazy. And business owners and CEOs, that number is still low. What's the challenge for women that are listening right now?
Oh my gosh, Steve. I really think what's happening, and the biggest challenge I find, honestly, is the financial side of it. So I see that if women had the proper capital, if they had the proper setup, that's why I do business consulting, because I love to work with leaders and corporations, don't get me wrong. But when you're working with an individual entrepreneur that's building a business, they need the knowledge of how to run a business. So they need to become the business owner and not the business operator. They start as the business operator, and they need to work their way to be the business owner, because most of them create a job because that's what they know, but then they can only make so much money. And I find that women can't keep these going because they also have all these identities. So now, Steve, they're like, but I still have to be a mother and I still have to take care of everybody else. And then I'm adding on top of it, trying to run this business, and they try and do it all and they can't. And so if they really look at the scaling of a business and how they can grow their business, they need to get I call them people in their businesses that can do things with them and for them. There's no way I could produce the level of what I produce without my entire team. And I also can't do everything I do in my family without my entire family, because sometimes I need my family to step in and help out for a get together. Or if they say, hey, can I bring dessert? I used to say, no, I got it. I got it all. Now I'm like, yes. And you can bring this and you can bring that. So again, I think it also helps those other individuals feel like they're contributing. So there's a lot of the bringing the team together. And I always say there's no I in team. People say, well, there's a me. And I go, no, TEAM does not, there's no me in there. Just because there's an M and an E, there's no me. So there's no I in team. So how can we come together and help each other? But I think it's finances. This is why I like bringing business resources forward, like how to get a business credit card, how to get business capital funding, all of these things. If they just had that and the support they need. Oh my gosh, Steve, you know how many husbands don't support their wives? It's insane.
Yeah, and that's where you should, especially a successful business owner that's male. Hello, pass on your tips to your entrepreneur wife. And I heard a great phrase from, I think Michael Jordan said, I'm pretty sure he said, there's no I in team, but there's I in win.
That's
and what he said is you have to team.
That.
Isn't that great? And so I remember that. I wanted to share with you and the audience because you said that. It's so true. So women in business, the challenges is finances. What do you do? So a woman comes to you and says, I need consulting. And I think every male or female should have a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Matter if it's Colleen, me, or whoever, you need somebody to help you, inspire you, motivate you, and educate you. But what's the journey that woman will walk through and say, hey, I'm starting the XYZ company. Where do I go?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, I've been doing this for 22 years and I finally realized what I love the most. I'm an activator, absolutely a prime activator and an implementer. I get bored after that. I just know my own personality, right? So since I'm an activator, I can activate ideas in people. So if they've got a business that they're running, but they're like, and I said something to them like, wow, you should do retreats with that. Or, oh my gosh, you should get conferences going for that, or events. Or have you thought about bringing that into corporate America? And they're like, no, I never thought about that, but that's a brilliant idea. So whether they're starting a business or have an idea, I like to work with people for like 1 hour, 1 day, or like 90 days. And I find that within that time, no matter what it is that they're looking for, or retreats for like 5 days, they can get everything they need in clarity, get the support to implement, and then they're on their way and they're humming. So some people like to do it in a day. They're like, just give me 6 hours in a day and let's just do it all. Others are like, I'd like the support over time. But, I find that I kind of start getting bored when I'm working with a client for a year if nothing's being built. So you've got to continue building something. As long as you're building something, I do have a handful of clients I've had for 3 years because they're building a TV show, then they're building a podcast, then they're building retreats, and then they're building conferences. So as long as they're continuing to build, then I find that that's like prime for me because that's when I do my best work and I feel like I bring out the best in them during that time.
Activator is a great word. I also call you the Energizer Bunny. So let's add that to activator because your energy and it's infectious. It's so awesome. And I love that you do that. And I love you customize.
Yeah.
How many coaches out there, I'm going to be very honest, that take people too long? You say,
Yeah.
Steve, I'll work with you an hour. Here's our goals. Here's what we'll build. And in 6 hours, we'll do it. And you walk away. So I'm here. Reach out if you need me again. And then they come back and build something again. Then they can hire you again, right?
Yeah.
Kind of how the
That's
journey.
the way I like it. And
Yeah.
I say 90 days, and that kind of pushes their timeline tight because then they've got 90 days to get this done. And if they don't, then, they're hiring me for another 90 days. So that's why I like the 90 days, because it really pushes them to hit that goal. I run 12-week years too, and it's based off the book, the 12-week year. And all I do is I just support them on a journey of completing these goals in 12 weeks. And we kind of do it as a group program. So there's a lot of different ways that women can work with me. I mean, the community, for instance, I created that to give women visibility, because hand in hand, when it comes to running a business, if no one knows about you and you're completely invisible, you don't have a business, right? It's like, why would you put a building and not put a sign on it? No one's going to pull into the parking lot and say, yo, what are you doing here? You've got to have, everyone out there needs to know who you are. And that's what you and I were talking about earlier. It's hilarious to me when someone says, I met Colleen Biggs, I was starstruck, or I met Steve Romano, I was starstruck, because you and I are we're just regular people doing our thing every day. But when they say that, you're like, I'm doing what I planned on doing, which is putting myself out there everywhere. And it, just becomes kind of this interpretation of, this visibility and being seen everywhere. Marketing used to be 8 touches. And I know there's all this different research, but for 20 some years, I'm telling you, I've looked at it all. It was 8 touches, whether it was direct mail, remember that, and phone calls and showing up in the community and maybe an announcement on social media. Now with social media, you're looking at 13 to 14 touches to hit someone before they're making a move or making a decision with you. That's a lot. So we have to do a lot to get our name out there. With that, I would say you've got to have visibility. So I created this community for women to get that visibility, but then to play together and build each other's network, which is what we're talking about today. That social capital. That's how you build your net worth. I call it social capital. It's these easy buckets,
Yeah, it's a great word. It's probably more valuable than actual dollars.
Well, the dollars come with it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when I do workshops on this, I draw 3 buckets on the board, and it says what you know, who you know, and who knows you. What's the most important bucket out of all of this? A lot of people say what you know. I'm like, wrong. It's who knows you. The minute someone knows you and all these people know you, they're like little engines out there doing all the marketing for you. And Steve will refer someone my way. I'll refer someone to Steve, right? That could turn into a partnership. All of a sudden, before you know it, dollars start flying your way based on that connection you got from that person. I could go through endless stories of how much money I've made because someone told somebody I was the best choice. Then I went and spoke there. And then somebody there decided they wanted to hire me for another speaking gig or, whatever it was. And it's just this snowball that keeps going. So my net worth actually is building from my social capital, but we have to build it specifically for us, our social construct. It also becomes where you get your energy from. You plug into that social capital of what people are sharing and doing for you.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah. Seriously,
one of my favorite
yes
movies.
And no.
Yeah,
get yourself out there.
And that's why people that live in a town of 1,000 people are billionaires, because they jump on a computer, they go speak, then they travel. Doesn't matter where you are. I just talked to my business partner this morning. He's moving to Mexico for 6 weeks to watch a house. So I can work anywhere.
Yeah.
Powerful that. Well, here's $1 million tip that you said that you didn't realize you said that I found.
Oh.
Husbands out there, boyfriends that have your female spouse that wants to do business, hire Colleen. If you don't want to help and you're going to be in the way, reach out to Colleen at ColleenBiggs.net. And she's a guest on my show and all that. I get it, but I know what a heartache it's going to take off you of her keep going, hey, I need help. I'm busy. I need help. Go right to Colleen. And that leads to building. I love building. My dad was a contractor. But with building our system and processes, how important is that?
Huge. Oh my, well, it's everything. I
Yeah.
call it the foundation. Without the foundation of a house, will it stand for very
Mhm.
long? No. So that really becomes the foundation. And those systems and processes are why I'm seen everywhere, are why people are touched by me all the time. I'm not in my office sending those nurturing campaigns, sending those emails, I'm not even the one dropping the social media feed. So when I talk about systems and processes, I think that comes from my brain of being in franchising, Steve,
Mhm.
because systems and processes is everything in franchising. You have to be able to duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. And so because of that, I've just gotten this strong structure on how you create systems and processes.
Yeah.
I never do anything like over and over and over again. So I do it once, and then I have it copy and pasted as a template. And then that way, when I need it again, boom, it's there, quarter of the time. Or I send it to my team and now they know what they need to do and we get it out. So I do have to tell you that I think systems and processes are number one. And here's the other thing: women throw so much money at coaches that are out there that say they're going to help them, or they're business coaches, and they're not. They're like mindset coaches. And I'm like, I get that you need to create this mindset for yourself. And I love vision boards and I work with those with my clients and I do them at my retreats. But it came from a business plan that we put together step by step by step, and what that looks like. And is it achievable? Is it a SMART goal? Right? So there's a lot behind the scenes on that. You can't just shift a mindset and that's going to change everything in your business, right? There's still steps that you have to take. So women waste a lot of money trusting people that say they're going to get them where they want to go. And the truth is, it's just a waste of money. And so that's why I feel like when you get to work with a person for a short amount of time, you don't feel like you're wasting your money, and you can really kind of test them out to
Yeah.
make sure that they're who you need. I always say, get on the phone with me in 30 minutes and I'll change your life. And then people know right there in 30 minutes if I'm going to be the right person for them or not.
If you don't
Yeah,
change your life, you move on, you shake hands
that's
virtually, and
right.
where I'm not a fit for you, but maybe. And what I love about you, which is why you need to hire her, if you're not a fit, you'll find somebody that's a fit because you have a
Oh, I
mindset.
always do.
Goes
Yeah.
right into that network.
Yeah.
And the challenges too with processes and systems is, and mindset. So what you're telling me, mindset's halfway there. You're not saying, and I believe mindset training is important, but you
Very
need to have
important.
the process and systems to say, okay, I'm doing this now. My mindset's ready. Okay, let's jump on
Yeah.
Colleen. So a good partner for you would be a mindset coach in a sense.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of women that surround me in my community that are called breakthrough coaches. And what they
Mm,
do is they very quickly in one day will kind of break you through these mindset barriers you have. I think what I was saying was, be aware that there are some business consultants or business coaches out there that say they're business coaches, but they're mindset coaches, and they're not physically like helping you work on the actual business stuff. Like, I love numbers. I'm a nerd. I love to put together spreadsheets. Like, I'll say, well, how do you know what you're going to charge per person for that retreat if you don't know your budget? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, you got to put a budget together first. So get the budget put together and the numbers will speak for itself. It's how I build everything. I
mhm.
have these ideas, then I get a budget put together and figure out, what can I charge? What would this look like? How much would the venue cost? What would a sponsor pay? I go through the whole thing and then I go, yup, this will work. Then I move forward. Most people do it the opposite way. They get all excited about it. And I've seen women drop $25,000 on events. And I'm like, you spent what? You're telling me you made no money. You spent $25,000 on that event. Are you kidding me? Like, you could have made $40,000 off that event, because people want their name in lights. They want to sponsor. They want you to promote them in your magazine. I'm just floored that they just don't, they're not thinking in that kind of mindset of what it takes to look at a business as a structure like that. And it's like, are you going to make money off that? No. Okay, well then what is your ROI on that then?
Yeah,
It's got to be something. Is it
yeah,
partnerships? Is it visibility? Is it exposure? Because if you're not getting some ROI, then I have to ask the question, like, why are you doing it?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, zero ROI is not good for any business. Just look at
No.
COVID. How many people went out of business because I talked to a lady Monday who went out of business because of COVID,
Yeah.
and she's struggling, because now it's a mindset thing of, okay, I failed, can I do it again? and all that.
Mhm.
What is the biggest challenge for women when they do processes and systems?
Well, first of all, is choosing the best one to use when it comes to
Mm,
processes and systems. My gosh, there's a million of them out there.
mhm.
And I think that these companies are brilliant because once you get sucked in, it's like having an assistant and a team. Once you get sucked in with people doing stuff for you, you're like, you replace those hours with other things, right? So you're replacing those hours with selling more, attending more events, whatever it is. You're like, I could never go back and take those 20 hours and put them back into my calendar. There's just no way, right? So you'll be with me forever. And I love the loyalty and the longevity of having a team. So I think that you need to build that with a company as well. When you build that
Mhm.
relationship, just like you and I built a relationship, just like we should nurture relationships with our potential clients and friends and partners to construct that social capital.
Yeah.
I really believe that when you build that relationship and you reach out to them and they know how important you are, you know how important they are in your business, then it's easier to have these systems and processes in place. But you have to choose the right software for you that works for your business and everything you need. And I see people go to like, this is the cheapest one. It's like, well, that just because it's the cheapest one doesn't mean it's going to do all that you need. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit more money, but because it does so much robust items for what you need, you're actually making more money from it because it's
Yeah.
automated,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's great. Yeah. There's a lot. So, I mean, just look at CRMs.
Oh, yeah.
500. I mean, I've done
Yeah.
searches before and, all these come up and it's hard. That's why a coach comes in or somebody like you that knows, hey, you know what, Steve? I've worked with these 10. For you,
Yeah.
this is the one that fits because
Yeah.
you've done it. My dad
Yeah.
used to say all the time, I love may rest in peace, love my dad. He said, don't ever recreate the wheel. You're the wheel. I go to you. You spin the wheel. Say, Steve, I know what you are. I've done that
Yeah.
90 days or 6 hours. Here's the
Right.
perfect one, and I'll show you how to do it. Like I
Yeah.
help people with podcasts.
I
That's
love
powerful.
that. There's
Yeah.
two sides to that, like I'll ask someone, why do you do it that way? And they're like, oh, I don't know, we've just always done it that way. This happened on Wednesday when I was doing a day retreat for the leaders. And I was like, what would that look like if you did it differently? What if you could just get rid of that, change it? And if you guys were to implement it today, what would you change in it to make it better? And they were like, well, we never really thought about that. I'm like, well, that's what we're going to do for the next hour. We're going to take all of those processes that aren't working and we're going to change them around and we're going to make them work for you today and for the generation of employees that you're hiring because it's not working anymore. So
Yeah.
you've got to change things. And they were just like, we never thought about that. The small, tiny little tweaks, we could change anything we want to change if we need to. But if it's not broken and it's working perfectly, don't reinvent the wheel. I 1,000%
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. If it's
Yeah.
working and it's awareness is so huge. And before we take the break, well, let's take a break. And I want to say this. She's very humble, Colleen, and I've talked to her, talked to some of the people who work with you. She has a waiting list for her seminars, for her events. And you even told me that. She's not saying that to be egotistical at all, not even close to it. Because I want you to think about this, audience. You go to a restaurant and there's a line. You may not go there because you don't want to wait, but you're going to go, I want to check that restaurant because it's busy. You
Yeah.
walk by a restaurant, nobody's in there. You may go in there because you're in a hurry, but that's the only reason. That's the same analogy, Colleen. I mean, you do that retreat with 4 women. I mean, it's a lot of money, but you have a waiting list for people to come out to that Airbnb and do that retreat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My events, I've turned away so many vendors and speakers now. They're like, can I speak at your event? Can I be a vendor? I'm like, I'm full. So I'm pushing everyone to the November 15th event already. And I already have speakers and panelists and
Nice.
people they're buying tickets for the November event. I feel like it's like I'm on tour or something. It's so crazy. But when you make it about the people, when you make it about them, then they want to participate. And I think that's the difference. We don't make it about us, Steve. We make it about other people. That's why they want to participate.
And I keep saying I love Colleen. She's my business wife. Sometimes when we talk, my wife and your husband will know all about that. But
Oh, yeah.
we're in the people asset. You all listening and me and you, Colleen, are in a people asset business. That's where
Right.
social capital, first and foremost, your mindset, your systems, your bid. If you don't have people, bye-bye. That's
Mm-mm.
what happened with COVID. People stopped
Yeah.
coming. So let's take a break. You guys got to know Colleen. I know you're smiling as I am. Let's take a break. I want you to watch a little video about her. We'll come back, talk about networking and how that helps.
Hello, everyone. My name is Colleen Biggs. So I thought I would come here and introduce myself so you would know a little bit about me. I am a wife. I am a mother of 7 awesome children with 6 son and daughter-in-laws, as well as 12 grandchildren. Yes, it is a full house when we have pizza night at my house. I've really always been a champion of other people. And in corporate America, I wasn't always a champion of women. I wanted them to grow and scale and be able to climb the corporate ladder. But since I've left corporate America, I've really decided that being a champion of women is something that is near and dear to my heart. And when you create an event and bring people together in a community around something where networking is involved, collaboration is involved, and each person in that room can build their social capital, which provides opportunity to them by constructing that social circle for themselves, well, that's going to benefit them in every area of their life. As a business consultant and launching over 360 businesses in just 20 years, I can tell you that building community on the back end of launching that business is so crucial for your success. So that is what I do. I construct events. I do in-person events, online events. I bring women together in the LEAP community. I've been business consulting for 20 some years, and I am just a true champion of women. And that is why I do what I do. I love to see other people succeed, and I'm humbled when I'm in a large room of people that are super successful because they've created something out of an idea and they're impacting the world. It's so nice to meet you today.
Well, I just got to tell you, if you looked behind her left shoulder, she had a little sign that says, I am enough. And I see it every time I meet with her, and it reminds me, you are. And this is the power of the people asset we were talking about and different things. But the other thing I want to mention, she's 40 years old. She has 12 grandchildren. So that's pretty amazing right there. We got to bring her back with that. Of course, I'm half kidding. We don't talk
40
age,
years
but...
old. I'm like, woo!
Yes, let's do that cheer.
Yeah! That's my metabolic age.
So the first thing I want to jump into, family is a business. You have a large family and you love it. But talk real quickly with women, because you said that they've got multiple identities. Mm-hmm. How to run your family somewhat like a business.
It is. And that's the one thing I tell them a lot. Like, just tell me a typical day. A lot of women that have, been stay-at-home moms and now their kids are all grown and they're going through the empty nester phase and they really feel like, what do I do now? That was my role. I was a mom, and I work with a lot of women that were stay-at-home moms, and now the kids have moved on, and they're like, I need a purpose. I want to do something. And we start identifying what that looks like for them, of what they want to do in their, I kind of say like it's the second half of their life, which I think is the best part of our lives, because we need to support our children differently, right? So when I talk about what they've done, the dentist appointments, the doctor's appointments, the sports, the schedule, the carpooling, you name it, they run like that. To just a household is like being a CEO of what they do. And I said, if you could just take that and apply that structure to a business, you'd be a millionaire in a year. Yeah, and that's the mentality of it, right? It's the mentality of it. So there's a part of women, and I'm sure men feel this way at some point too, but I can tell you from studying and working with so many women, I think 90% of my clients have always been women. I've only worked with a very small percent that were men. Their mentality, the minute that they're responsible for something big or launching something big or investing in something big like a business, they immediately think like, oh my gosh, that's too big. I can't do it. First thing. And I'm like, really? Because did you see the household you were just running? Your kids are all alive. They're thriving. They're doctors, they're attorneys, they're engineers. Like, you did something right. So what do you mean you can't do it? So again, I think we tend to kind of let the chatter hit, and we think, oh, no, we can't do that, or other people are going to judge me, or I don't deserve to have something that big. There's a lot of trauma that comes from like our poor parents, including me with my children. They've got trauma, and you're like, I don't even know where the trauma came from, but we all have trauma growing up, right? So we walk around feeling like Sherpas over time, just carrying all this trauma, and you've got to get rid of it. So if you do not do personal development, Steve, I'd love to hear about yours through the journey of becoming an entrepreneur and a business owner, whether it's brick and mortar or online service or products or whatever it looks like. If you have Amazon stores, the personal development helps kind of build that confidence. It helps build the motivation. It helps build your leadership. And then you feel you're ready. So that can't always come from an external source. We've got to work on ourselves and work on our personal development.
Well, that ties into your network's your net worth.
Yeah.
When you jump on a one-on-one and you're reading books, and I do, and I get books from guests like you do. I've got your book, and we'll talk about that too. It gives you more content to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like I say, people, I'm an introvert. I mean, one-on-one, ask a question. Where'd you go to high school? Well, I went to high school in Michigan, a small little, Now you've started the conversation. An introvert can become an extrovert enough to carry that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's important when you're networking, right? Because network, your net worth is the talk of the show, subject of the show. And I want to dive into that.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you, one of the workshops I do, if I'm talking to a large group, like 250 to 500 people, it's really easy to do because I can have them turn to their neighbor and just kind of pair up real quickly. And I'll say, for the next 2 minutes, all I want you to do is ask the person questions. You're not allowed to do anything but ask them questions. It's not about you, it's about them. So I always have them just turn the light on the other person and ask questions. And then I say, how does that feel? The person that was asking the questions were like, well, I didn't feel like the spotlight was on me. I didn't feel like, nervous or anything. The minute the spotlight switches and that other person is asking the question, the person answering, feels nervous because the spotlight's on them. So I said, what does that mean? When we take care of the people, the numbers, the business takes care of itself. So when you're focused on you, you're anxious, you feel introverted, you feel like someone's going to judge me, but just put the spotlight on other people. It's like how I live my entire life. It's my entire business that I run is about the other people. And when you're putting the spotlight on them, that's the key to networking, is you're so more interested in them. And that builds a closer relationship immediately. How many times, Steve, have you had someone walk up to you and immediately they just start talking about them and everything is about them? And you're just standing there like, yep. Yeah. Okay, probably not going to talk to that person later. I had a lady on the phone do that to me, and everything was about her for about 45 minutes. And I literally wrote her name down, was going to write notes, and I wrote on the paper, nope.
Shortest note in the world.
She just wasn't the type of individual that I thought I was going to be able to connect with, because she never listened.
Yeah.
What if we just listened?
And that's a servant's heart. I say this on every show I'm on. I know you say it. When you say no or nope, which I love, you're being a servant because you're not going to work with her. She's not affecting you. You may teach her a lesson or not, but taking people out of your inner circle that are like that is a servant's heart. I used to do it, take everybody on and spend hours with people. They'd never listen. They'd never do the actions. And I didn't charge them. Charge them, I probably feel even worse. But once I purged myself and added people like you to my inner circle, my whole life's completely changed. And, audience knows I've made more money, had more high profile connections I have in the last 2 years than I have in 15 years. Mm-hmm. But let's do something really fun. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do that. What you do at your events, do it. Let's me and you do it. You start asking me questions.
Okay. Hey, Steve, nice to meet you today.
You too. Right?
Yeah. So, tell me, are you married? Do you have a family? I'd love to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I'm married. I got 4 stepkids. My wife's got 4 kids. Married almost 2 years now. I think over a little over 2 years, but I remember that. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun 2 years.
Yeah. So you were married before then, you said,
No, I've
or?
never been married. I got
Oh,
married at
no
61,
way.
60. Yeah.
Wow, that's one for the book. So,
It
are you an entrepreneur? Do you own brick and mortar stores online? Tell me a little bit about you. I'd love to learn
I'm an
more.
entrepreneur. I love projects. I love building things. It's just so much fun, and I love working with people,
Yeah. So, tell me, when you're working with people, what do you love most about working with people?
helping them, serving them, and
Mhm.
they succeed where very little or a lot. Their success doesn't matter to me. I mean, if I give them a little tip on software and it's changed, saved them an hour, that's a huge win for me. Or I made them $10,000. They're all wins. I love wins.
So, are you in the software business then?
I'm not. No, no. I'm in a podcast host and TV show host, and I have projects that I've generated from my podcasts.
Wonderful. So, have you done this for a long time, running your podcast? Tell me about it. What's the name of it?
Yeah, it's doing business with a servant's heart. We start October 2022, so it's not even 2 years. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. We'll stop right there because you're so good at this.
Okay, so
Right.
that was like 2 minutes, right? So, I just kept digging more and more and more and acted like I didn't know you at all, but because of keywords that you said, I just kept digging to get to know you better. How did you feel, Steve? Like,
I felt that you cared about me,
okay, like I
and
genuinely wanted to get to know
yeah.
you.
And if
Okay.
I was an introvert, and you introverts out there, I'm lit up now. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to ask her. Is she married? I wonder if she's married. She sounds
Oh, now
successful.
Steve's picking up on me. Does that
Yeah,
what
oh,
just
yeah,
happened? I'm just
yes.
kidding.
Business pickup. Is there such a thing? Um, but no, yeah, cheer it on. And that audience, that's $1 million 2 minutes right there. What
Yeah.
you did, anybody can do that. Introvert, extrovert, tall, short, big. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've got a mouth and you've got ears,
Yeah.
you could do that. I love that. That was so good.
Yeah.
And it was
You know,
simple.
it's awesome to see a huge room, and I would challenge and give that tip to every single person out there that, put the spotlight on other people, challenge yourself at the next networking event that you ask all the questions. This is the other thing I say, which is a little sidebar note. The person asking the questions is the person in charge. And so when you're asking the questions, even though you're actively listening and asking the questions, you're perceived as also the person that's kind of in charge of the conversation. But then, if they turn it back on you and start asking you questions, then you have the opportunity to share more about you. And you would be shocked how many people, Steve, that I'll just sit and ask them a bunch of questions about them. And then then they're done. And then they,
Yeah.
go over to the next person. And you're like, okay, well, I didn't want to share about me anyway. That's not your person, because I guarantee you that's just not the right person for your scene. I always say, hang around the people that build you up, not break you down. And there are family members that will break you down. I have family members that are not part of my life anymore because of that. And that is okay.
Yeah. It's way okay. Again, it's a servant's heart. No, I love that. So let's talk about referrals and receiving referrals. I've got such, I could talk for hours about this. We won't. We don't have hours. But what's the importance? You receive a referral, time, and how you do it, and all that, because that's a big part of your network.
Yeah. This is the big bucket. Remember, I said the best bucket of all of those buckets, the what you know, and who knows you. That's going to be your most valuable bucket. That is your marketing minions, I say, that are out there doing the work for you. They are your raving fan. I am a huge Steve Ramona raving fan. Like, I can't even tell you. I'm like, hey, do you know Steve? Hey, do you know Steve? And I know Steve's doing the same thing. Like, hey, do you know Colleen Biggs? And then all of a sudden he's introducing me to individuals. It is so crucial to nurture people so that they want to send you a connection because they're thinking about you, you're top of mind. And so, what does that connection look like? I say to everyone, when you meet someone you really like and you want to stay connected with them, go on your social media and start like following them on Instagram,
Mhm.
Facebook, connect with them on LinkedIn. Start at least getting them in your feeds. A lot of people think, well, I don't have time to send cards and gifts, and I don't have time to like text people all the time and stay in contact. And I'm not saying you have to do that with 500 people, but what if they were in your feed and then something popped up and you were like, oh, that's such a great post today. And you just make a comment, you just became top of mind again, right? They know that you're there, you're following them, then they follow you back. So this is how you kind of become each other's raving fans. And then what happens is, when they are somewhere and a subject comes up or someone's looking for someone in a specific industry and you happen to be that person, they're going to go, oh my gosh, Colleen would be the perfect workshop facilitator for that. It's pretty much how I've flown all over the United States and gotten paid to do workshops, is because somebody knew me and in a room they said you should contact Colleen Biggs. I've never, like, it's rare that I ever apply for those. They come to me and then they say so and so referred me to you. We'd love to learn more.
Yeah, that's so, those are
Yeah.
such big tips right there. It's so big. And it's interesting because I would do referrals, and this is a big pet peeve of mine. And I'd look and they would respond 10 days later.
Oh.
You laugh. I knew you'd laugh. I'm
You're like,
looking.
what?
And then they say, no, I'm not interested. You're not a fit for my show or this or that. I'm like, doesn't take you long. I get
Yeah.
10 to 15. You get a ton of referrals too. I know. I get 10, 15 a day. It's
Oh,
easy to
yeah.
look up and go. I meet with everybody because I think the door's open. You walk in, you never know. You can always walk back
Me
out.
too. Me
Yeah,
too.
we think so much alike.
I met with someone the other day. I think you referred her to me. And I met with her the other day. And she's like, I'm not in Arizona, but one of my clients is, and her name is whatever it was. And I'm not just going to use it online here, but she told me her name. And she's like, I'm going to text her right now because she's always looking for stages and she's got to get into that conference of yours. And I was like, great. And then I started talking to her and she goes, I would love to speak on stage. I said, well, unfortunately, March is full, but I am taking speakers for November. She's like, well, I'd like to send you my speaker information to apply to be on your stage. That was a Steve referral. I talked with the person who, I don't know if her and I are going to do anything. I'm not sure, but she was like, I have a client in Arizona and I think you should help her. You're going to give her a really great opportunity. And I was like, well, sure. I'm happy to introduce her to a bunch of women. What better way to do that than 200 women in a conference, And so that was a connection that opened up another door, that opened up another door. And I think that's what people forget. Sometimes it's like the 6 degrees of separation. It might not be that exact person, but it's the two people you meet from that person that gets the connection of something that might be monetary or an opportunity or a stage or a visibility, whatever it is,
Yeah.
a tip.
And such a great story because the other thing that people lose sight of is that lady who has a client refers to you. She hires you. You do a great job as you always do. Guess what? That client's, what would they call her? The person that referred her, who's the client works with,
Mm-hmm.
just got a golden recommend, golden
Oh, yeah.
thumb up.
Yeah.
And you do that. So if you have clients out there, and I do this all the time on Facebook, LinkedIn, promote them. Nobody does it. It drives
Oh,
me
my
crazy. I do
God.
it all the time.
Me too. My whole world is just promoting people. And I get like gifts from women at my house. Steve, they'll send me gifts. I got a little tower last month with a bunch of nuts. So I loved it. I literally texted her and said, oh my gosh, you have my heart, because she sent me a tower of nuts and she knows I don't eat candy. I don't eat brownies. I don't eat all the other stuff. And she sent me nuts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can eat this whole thing and not have to give it all to my husband. When people send me gifts. And she said, you need to know how impactful you are. I'm so glad you're my friend. And I thought, well, this is just really nice that she sent that to me. And so I referred a couple of people to her. She referred people to me. I just sent her a thank you card and a mug that said gratitude. I'm grateful for you on it, because her and I we go back and forth all the time, and we're referring people, constantly helping each other out, whether that goes anywhere or not with those connections. It's really about that we just stay in each other's radars. We're in each other's radars. That is what a servant heart is like. You do not earn leadership because you started a business. That does not make you a CEO and now I'm a great leader. I told everyone in that room on Wednesday, all of you were promoted to these positions. So you think I was promoted, now I'm a leader. And most of the time when you do that to someone, they're so good at what they do, then you promote them and they're like, all their weaknesses just are glaring because maybe they weren't that great as a manager or a leader. So this is how you earn leadership. You have to earn your team's respect. You don't just get a title and think, oh, I'm just end all be all. You got to earn it. And that takes sacrifice and service, and it takes action. Like you have to have an intention plus an action. And that's what servant leadership is. Intention minus an action is nothing. So if you intend something, but you don't do anything with it, your team loses faith in you.
Yeah.
Totally.
And she reads my mind, audience, because I was going to ask her the definition of secret servant leadership. And I want to put something out there. Some of you listening going, oh, Colleen gets all these gifts. She doesn't do what she does to get gifts. That is the repercussion of giving a servant's heart.
It's not my love language, by the way.
No,
gifts are not my love language. No.
Yeah, I got a big box. My wife has a love language. Oh my God, we had $100 worth of chocolates. Same thing. She was so happy. Thanks for the connections. But keep in mind, this is the cherry on the cake. More money, more people, more connections. You know, I met a billionaire who called me. Billionaire, owns a big network marketing company. There's no reason. He called because of the podcast. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had the confidence to answer that call. Oh, it's a number I don't know. It's not spam. I wouldn't have answered. That door opened, I would have lost that opportunity, which is going to be massive for me. So keep that in mind about opportunity, audience, in your network. Because somebody's doing you a favor.
Celebrate that,
yeah,
Steve.
Yeah, let's do that. Yes. Love it. How easy is it to network? Hard.
Okay. I don't know. I kind of get sick of hearing that I'm introverted and that's the reason why I don't. You know, it's no different than when I talk to people about working out or have you tried doing a water fast to help, solve some of your problems. They're like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm hypoglycemic or I have to eat or excuse. So I always say, instead of coming up with the excuses, what if you didn't have any excuses and you just had to come up with the reasons why you wanted to do something? And so for me, I love networking. Because to me, it's like a dinner party. So let's just take out the nervous, oh my gosh, you got to walk into a room and I've got to meet people and you feel like a flower on the wall just sitting over here all quiet. What if it was like a dinner party, right? We don't feel that when you go to a dinner party. And I'm sure, Steve, you've been to couples dinner parties and didn't know every couple in the room.
No.
So what do? Do you go up and say, hey, what do you do for a living? Where you look, you don't talk about business. You're like, oh, hey man, I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. Do you guys live around here? Is your wife here? Do you have kids? Then you might get into conversations like they might talk about motorcycles or hobbies or golf or, I feel like when you take out that business stuff and you just start to get to know somebody, they remember you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're inquisitive and you asked.
Yeah. No, that's huge.
Yeah.
I love this. Let's, we're coming to the end of the show here. Let's talk about your books for a few minutes.
Oh, there's so many behind me. This is my latest one that I did. And I cannot believe it's already been 2 years. And I thought to myself, like, I'm going to do a whole revamped volume 2 of this book, I believe, and redo it. But this book is called Step Into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence and Attract the Right Clients. Because no one wants crappy clients. I'm just going to be honest. I don't want mean girls in my community. I don't want to work with people that expect me to solve all their problems for you because I'm not a magician. That's not what I do. I want to attract the right clients. I want to attract the client that wants to do the work. I want to attract the client that is right for me. And the only way we can do that is by being authentic. So this book is full of different ways to step into the spotlight, from Instagram to stages to, going through personal development for yourself, to where you're clearing out a lot of the issues that could be holding you back, where you feel that other people, should do the work for you. So it's got several other authors in it that I worked with very closely. I did a bunch of videos as well. And that's a free download on my actual website that people can download. I have a lot of free downloads to just give free content. I think that's the other thing, like giving free content to people. This becomes like a business card for me. I give these away at all my conferences. I give them away when I go to other conferences in their swag bags. And I just use it as a business card, because when people intimately start to get to know you by reading your books, then they're kind of really connected to you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people are too stingy, and they're like, I'm not going to give you like 200 books. That's a lot of money. I'm like, really? It's going to cost you a few $100s to do a 200 books in a swag bag for everybody. And it's not a postcard that someone's just going to throw in the garbage. They all do. If it's not chocolate or something they can use, they're just throwing it away. They're not going to throw your book away. I promise. It's going to go on their bookcase. They're going to read it.
It's going to take money to make money. We'll leave it with that.
Oh,
those are well said.
You do not invest in yourself, Steve, how can you expect anyone else to invest in you? Money is energy. You've got to invest in you. You've got to pay for the things, and then people will spend the money on you too.
You're the best. I thank you so much for being on. This is so fun.
You're my favorite.
Awesome. You're the best. How can people get a hold of you? I see ColleenBiggs.net. Is there any other way people get a hold of you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I've worked really hard on this. You just Google me, Colleen Biggs, 2 L's, 2 E's, 2 G's. I tell people, Google me, because it's like 6 pages, right? Of everything I've done, other people's platforms I've been on, all my podcasts, kind of this like history. So I love when people soft stalk me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Colleen Biggs as well. That's a great place, because that's a professional platform. You can DM me on there and we can start having a conversation. Those are the places I really play in a lot, which is LinkedIn. And, you can start following me on social media just to see, like, who is she? Let me just go find out who she is, right? Remember, we talked about build your network. You need to start following people so you can start seeing their feeds to see if you like them.
Great tip.
Yeah.
Great tip.
Yeah.
Well, audience, this was a great show. Re-listen to it again. I'm excited she was on. I'm going to bring her back next couple months. We got a lot more to talk about, a lot more to delve into. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next episode of Together We Serve. Next week, it's going to be Summer Watson. I want to check my schedule, so we're going to do this off the cuff, because I haven't done this before, but Colleen has got me excited, because with your network, you got to talk about it. Next week will be Summer Watson. She's another coach that is incredible. You're going to love her to death. Thank you all. We'll see you all next week.